gonna teach you how to stroke the dick on top and in any position.
If I had to guess, they probably not enjoying sex. They probably having repetitive sex if they're having sex.
Is there an issue with stroke? Do you want to be the initiator, or do you want them to be the initiator? Do you have times where your libidos are mismatched, like their senses are offline? And this is why they're not reaching orgasm. That whole statistic around, 80% of women are not experiencing vaginal orgasms. Yeah. The first issue is you got grown men fucking like little boys. I'm polyamorous, but I also enjoy having sex with multiple people.
Okay. At the same time, you mean?
There's so many different variations of how relationships can be played out, but people keep their minds focused traditionally on monogamy. You only got one soulmate. When a woman is doing it, I'm being honest with everybody in my life about how I feel and where they stand in my life, and them sharing me, they want to get upset.
So sit back and relax. That's scary. Melanie P. Talk to him. Scary with Melanie P. That's scary with Melanie P. Come on.
Welcome to another episode of the That's Scary with Melanie P podcast. I am your girl, Melanie P, and we are here today with a special guest. And you know what? I'm always messing up people's name. How do you pronounce your name?
It's Tyomi. If you let Caribbean and African folk tell it, they're gonna say Tyomi.
Ooh. What's the origin of your name?
It's actually a name I chose for myself. So people think it's Nigerian because it has the suffix of Yomi, which a lot of Nigerian female names have Yomi, Yomi in it. But yeah, it's just a name I chose myself to identify myself.
Nice.
I didn't really care for the name my parents gave me. I mean, it's not bad. It's just I was like, it don't got that pizzazz.
Yeah. Girl, listen, Melanie, so I definitely understand what you're talking about. But we have a special guest, Tyomi, today on the That Scary with Melanie P podcast. Listen, y'all, before I get started, make sure you stop what you're doing and you hit that subscribe button. I am really excited about this episode today. Tyomi, please let the viewers and the listeners know who you are and what you do.
So, as she said, my name is Tyomi. I go by Glamazon Tyomi online. I have been working in the sexual health sector as a multi-hyphenate for the last 12 years of my life. I started my career as a blogger and a YouTuber with Glamorerotica101.com and its YouTube channel. And I like to say I was one of the first. I was like a pioneer in, sexperts that were really visible online, especially Black sexperts. And my specialty is in teaching people how to deepen their pleasure through the mechanics or the movements of sex. So teaching people how to improve their moves so they can, feel more pleasure in the experience. And so I started out writing about sex as a blogger, and I've written for ebony.com and blackdoctor.org and Cassius Life. And I've been featured on all kinds of publications from the New York Times to Essence and on and on. And I've been going viral since, before viral was a thing. I've had several videos that went viral around the world. One of them being my how to ride tutorial, because at that time, back in 2013, there weren't any dick riding classes. There were no books. There still are no books for real. But I'm publishing one.
Okay.
And so I was I did the research around it and I just created a tutorial, and that tutorial went viral. And then I started touring with my sensual fitness program, the Cowgirl Workout, in 2016. And I've taken it all over the world and all over the US and North America. And so it's been great. And since I've also earned a degree in digital filmmaking from the Los Angeles Film School.
Nice.
And I'm also an intimacy coordinator for film and television. So I'm the one that goes into the sets when there's simulated sex scenes or scenes of nudity, just making sure that the actors' boundaries are maintained while also sticking to the creative brief of the TV show
list
or
your
the
stuff,
film. Yeah, so that's why I say I'm a multi-hyphenate in this space, because outside of being a pleasure coach, whether it's group coaching and one-to-one, I do stuff in film and television. I also host lifestyle events.
Wow.
Which I've been doing since 2019. So the list goes on and on and on. But Oh, and I'm also the Exotica Expo's resident sex expert and seminar coordinator. So we do 4 shows a year, and it's a consumer-based show. It's the largest show dedicated to love and sex in the USA. And I've been in that position since 2017. So I have a really good footing in the adult industry and sexual health industry in general.
Girl, let me tell you something. This is a full circle moment for me. Listen, I'll have no shame. Writing the D is something that has always been, I want to perfect it. I want to understand it. It's not my like strongest. I'm just going to be honest. It's not my strongest. This is full circle for me, because if any of my friends know that I'm always like, especially if I had a few drinks, I'm like, show me how you ride dick, because I want to see how you ride dick. Like, I'm always one of the strangers and everything. And I remember so long ago looking at your videos on YouTube, girl, and I'm just like, this is like full circle. I'm fangirling out at this moment. I'm just ready for this conversation. I'm just so excited. So, we start every episode with a mental health check-in. How are you doing? How are you feeling? How's your mental health? How are you feeling today?
I would say my mental health is stable today. I have a lot on my mind though, around all the responsibilities I have to take care of. I'm leaving tomorrow for Exotica Chicago, and being a coordinator and being a person who manages several people. There's a lot of moving parts. Right. So I have so many different emails to send, making sure I pack all of my equipment and stuff that I have to take there. So, I've just been breathing through it today and asking for help when I need to. I still have some content to shoot. So there's a lot on my plate, but, mentally I'm in a good place. I'm really excited. About going to the city. I already have like dinner dates planned and people to see, because, Chicago's my hometown. So,
I didn't know that.
Yes, I'm from the land. I'm from Chicago.
And from the land of R. Kelly.
Right? I moved to Atlanta last year. And so I've been in Atlanta for a year. But Chicago is home. So every time I go home for Exotica Chicago, it's like a reunion of people I haven't seen in a while. And I also use that time to like go check on my parents and stuff too, because they're not far from where the convention is held. So
do they come to the convention?
My dad has never been, but my mom has been like 2 or 3 times.
Okay, all right, girl.
It was so crazy because last year my mom came. Was it last year or year before last? Within the last 2 years, my mom came and she sat in on my seminar for the first time.
Really?
And my Friday night seminar is like the biggest one because it's my cowgirl seminar.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, let me get over the jitters of my mom being in this room and just call her out. And I didn't point her out, but I was like, I just gotta let y'all know she is in the room. And I was like, it's her first time seeing me perform on stage. And I told her, I said, Mom, I just gotta confess, I'm a freak. So
my God.
And here we go. Let me get into this. And then afterwards, she was like, oh my God, you are so good.
Oh my
at working the crowd and speaking, because she had never seen me speak before. So it was like a full circle moment because we had our challenges in the beginning when I first started my career 12 years ago. And for her to see how far I've come and the impact that I have on people, I was like, I told you it was going somewhere.
So how did that feel having her in the audience? Like, do you feel like you like went extra hard to show her, or was you nervous, or like how did you feel?
First of all, when I speak, I sweat anyway. Like I'm always, it just, my body warms up. But having her in the audience, it was just like, I didn't necessarily feel like I had to go harder. I just do what I usually do.
Yeah.
But I was actually able to be in my glow because I was like, I got to show you how I do what I do. And
that is awesome.
I was very happy that she was proud of me. I was like, oh.
Okay, listen. Okay, that is major, girl. Because I don't even think I talked to my mom about. I don't think I even say that the sex or dicks or nothing to my mama. So that's major because in the Black community we can be like really prudish. You know what I'm saying? Especially like our parents, kind of old school. So I just respect and love that. My mental health is doing really good. Like I'm just like y'all have no idea. Like I have been watching your YouTube for so many years, and I still have not. we got some things to get into, girl, because I still have not mastered. Like I have watched that video, and I watch like how you move your body and how like just confident you
See, you
are.
gotta move. You gotta move. Like you can watch me, but you gotta move too.
I know, but
That's the only thing.
it's the only
You just
thing.
can't
Like,
watch it and then it's gonna download. You gotta
I'm
move.
gonna tell you something. Listen, transparent. Okay, I have 3 older brothers, right? And I don't
Mm.
have any sisters. And so if I would
Oh,
watch porn, I would only watch white people porn. And I would try
gotcha.
to mimic what I saw the white women doing. And it's very different from what the black women be doing. So I was up there
Yep.
screaming, like, like, I don't know what I was doing, girl. And I'm like, when I saw my first like black porn, and then when I saw your videos, I'm like, hold up, now this is very different from what I have been seeing. Cause it's like when I see black people porn, I think about my brothers. I don't know why. Like I just think about my
Mhm.
brothers, and I'm just like, but it's different. It is
It's
really
different.
different. And it's kept me disabled like sexually for a long time, because black men, they don't really, I mean, they like it, but I feel like it's a whole different vibe with the energy and the rhythm of a curvy, confident sister. You know what I'm saying? It's different.
Yup.
It is so
It is
different.
different.
Mm.
And I think even like in coaching,
Mm-hmm.
women who are curvier and in larger bodies,
Mm-hmm.
there's a different learning curve because they already come with this idea that they can't do certain things. And so they
Mm.
already come with a limited mindset. This is why for me, like in teaching women how to ride, or like I like to say, teaching women how to stroke back,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm
Ooh.
gonna teach you how to stroke the dick on top and in any position. Because once you learn isolation of the hips and you have those
Mm.
motor skills and you build the muscle memory around it, then you can
Right.
stroke back in any position. But like size stops a lot of people, and then lack of rhythm stops a
Mm.
lot of people. And I'm like, these are things that you can literally learn. So,
How do you
it
have
is
rhythm on a
different.
penis?
White people were different than the way
Oh,
that they
girl.
stroke.
Very different. And very different. And they're very animated, like compared to the black porns. Like they're very like animated. Just from what I feel like, they're kind of more animated, you know? I don't
They
know.
are. And a part of that too is the fact that it is performative sex.
Mm-hmm.
So in performative sex, you want to make more noise, you want
Yeah.
to like be more enthusiastic and
Mm.
into it because it's for the person that's watching,
Right. Right.
right?
Right. Girl.
Yeah, I'm personally not that expressive. I guess it really
Really?
depends on the partner. It depends on the partner that I'm with, but I like to focus on my breathing. It's a reason why I'm not as vocal, because like I start talking too much and then they just pop and I'm like, yo,
Oh, wow.
I wasn't
Like
ready
sexy
for you to do
talking?
that. I wasn't ready for you to do that.
Oh.
Now what I will do is
Uh-huh.
like I will sometimes coach.
Lord,
Sometimes I
not.
will
Are
coach.
you serious? That is good though,
Yes.
because they need it.
Yes, they do.
They
But
need it.
sometimes like I'll do it non-verbally. I'll just like
Like with
move
their
them into a
hands,
position.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I
But
was
it really depends on the partner.
right. I was asking you this, and I'm gonna have to ask you this like while we on, because I have literally told everybody this story, girl. I was watching your live on Instagram, so make sure you follow. I'm gonna put all your information below. But I was watching your live, and you was saying how you had a partner who was massaging you, and you were able to orgasm from a massage. And I wrote that
Mhm.
down in my notes. Like, what? Like, most people I know can't even orgasm. You know what I'm saying? Like with actual sex. How the hell were you able to orgasm from just a massage?
So I'm very sensual and tapped into my
Mm.
senses, and I also just know how to relax. But I recently found an erogenous zone on my body
Okay.
that like it's just been unlocked. So it's like an area between like my thigh and the groin, like where that
Okay.
little vestibule where it
Yeah.
meets.
Yeah.
So and we were clothed. Like he
Clothed.
didn't we were clothed. I had on clothes. I had on this
Oh.
outfit. And that's the thing too. So there were like several sensual things happening at the time. Number one, We had just smoked a J. So I was really
Relax.
like, I dropped into my body. Right. Then I hadn't seen this man in like 2 years. So there was like that excitement already for me, like, and then I was reminded of how he touches me, like how attentive he is. Like he just knows the spots to go to.
Right.
And I got a few partners like that. But this one in particular, he is a musician, so his fingers are very much trained, right?
Yes.
So we were sitting like backstage, like we were at like House of Blues. We were sitting up in a way and backstage behind like a curtain.
Yeah.
And we were both sitting down facing each other, and he just started rubbing my thighs. And he was like, "Oh, I forgot how great it is to touch you." And I had on this outfit that was very soft. And he said it looked like pajamas, but it wasn't.
Right.
It's just a very like casual, outfit where the booty and thighs and everything can just move in it.
Yes, girl, jiggle.
Right. But the fabric was so soft, like Charmin soft, So he was enjoying the feeling of that. I was enjoying the feeling of that. And then when he got up to that point around my groin area and he started to massage there, it felt so amazing. And I just had these deep orgasms. Because a part of it was like releasing tension that was in that part of my body. Because I've been hitting the gym really hard the last few weeks. So I haven't had anybody massage my body for real, but there is literally, for me, there's an erogenous zone in that area. And he was like, "Wait, did you just have an orgasm? Did you just come?" I was like, "Yo, several times just now." And he was like, "Wow, I won."
Oh,
I was like,
my
"I won.
God.
What are you talking about?"
Right. Several.
So several, yeah. And they
I am mad at you. Jesus.
It's like definitely like started in the pelvis, but then they just like radiated outwards and just up into the rest of my body. And I was just like, oh my God. And so again, there was no penetration. I was clothed. There was no stimulating of like my lips or labia or clitoris or anything like that. It was literally just massaging my inner thighs and the groin area. And those are actually erogenous zones, but they get ignored.
Wow.
They get ignored.
Wow.
So, but the fact that like, because I'm able to drop into my body very easily. Like I can drop into meditation very quickly. I drop into sleep very quickly. And I think for a lot of people, because they are armored because of trauma, like people are very closed off from feeling.
Yeah.
So to be able to have those orgasms, like touchless orgasms or energetic orgasms or orgasms, period, you have to have a sensual awareness. And people get sensuality and sexuality confused. Sensuality is tapping into your 5 senses. The senses that we use are that our bodies use to experience the world. So if you're not actually feeling the environment around you, if you can't feel the clothes on your body, if you can't smell the scents on your own body and around you, if you can't taste what you're actually putting into your mouth when you eat or you consume something, your senses are offline. And in my coaching practice, what I have noticed is that the majority of people who do come to me, their senses are offline. And this is why they're not reaching orgasm. So that whole statistic around, 80% of women are not experiencing vaginal orgasms, it's a twofold issue. The first issue is you got grown men fucking like little boys, right? And then the second one is that women are offline with their own bodies and they need to return back home.
Wow.
They don't know how to do that.
Girl, I know I'm offline because when I'm hearing you talk, girl, like I don't do none of that. like I don't do any of that. Like I'm very like tense, and you just seem like it seems like the medium of what you're saying is that relax and just be.
Yes.
And most people don't do that. And not even during sex.
There's reason, especially when you are a Black person navigating life in America, we have reason to be on guard.
Right.
And then when you think about like the childhood traumas that have gone unhealed, and then the other traumas, the systemic shit that happens, and
Yeah.
all the things that just pile on top of that, and then navigating the world as a woman on top of that. There's a lot. And then
It's a
if you
lot.
are a person that lives with like anxiety or chronic pain, you know, all these things literally compound. And then it's not easy to just relax. Like when someone's like, just relax, that does not compute for a lot of
It gives you
people.
more
And so
anxiety if I hear that.
right. So there is a process, and this is what I teach women is how to drop into their bodies. I teach men this too. I teach anybody who I coach, I teach them how to do this because that's the key to really unlocking pleasure. And that is what's going to bridge the orgasm gap is getting your senses back online. Because a lot of us are operating in survival mode. And we're operating on autopilot. We're just going through the motions every day, but we're not actually deriving true pleasure out of life's experiences.
Wow.
This is why a lot of people can go through life and they do all these things and they look up and be like, but have I actually lived? And it's because they're just going through the motions. And I have empathy for those people because I understand why. The traumas that they have not yet healed and the impact to their nervous system just has them so tense and wound up.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, some people live in environments where they can never escape the trauma. So some people won't be able to access true and deep pleasure until they remove themselves from those situations. But some people are literally stuck in a rock and a hard place. And it's like, damn, you know, but those that can will, and those that hear me and want the keys, I'm telling you, when I tell you, the things that I teach are simple, but they don't always feel easy because once your nervous system starts to shift, ego is like, wait.
Right. Exactly.
No. Like, nah. We trying to protect you from feeling. What are you doing? Why are you removing the armor?
But see too, like people who like I don't know if I have trauma, but I feel like the partner, you know what I'm saying? I feel like the partner is a big part in that as well. You know what I'm saying? So how do you navigate like, you know, you and your partner kind of being disconnected in that kind of way? And maybe your partner is doing things that you don't like, on top of the fact that you don't really have, you know, you're not relaxed and calm. I mean, it's just so many variables in the romantic space. Like, how do you just become? How do you even become and relaxed?
So interestingly enough, like everybody always says, well, I don't think I have trauma, right? But then when you start having conversations with them, I mean, something that you've already told me around like your porn consumption, like trauma doesn't always have to be like a dramatic thing. It's just something that like negatively impacts your nervous system, or it like has your brain wired in a way where it doesn't allow you to do what you want your body to do.
Wow.
Right. So everybody got something.
Okay.
And sometimes it's like a small moment, right? That's fleeting, but then it becomes internalized and then you just live your life in a way that like matches the internalized thing, but it has you offline. But you don't even notice it. And sometimes this stuff is insidious. Like you don't even know that it's impacted you in that way. So when it comes to relationships, you know, the first thing people can do is really examine like, what are the things that have been said or done that you may be holding resentment towards your partner about, either the unspoken expectations or the unspoken disappointments, or the unspoken feelings around like being offended. Because sometimes we feel like, you know, in relationships, we don't have the space to express when we have grievances with the person that we love.
Right.
But when you love yourself, you don't hold that stuff in. And there is a way to communicate it to your partner in a loving way that maintains your boundaries for like yourself and your self-love, that also lets them know how to treat you. Right. So that's the first part. And then also examining like, okay, if you're not comfortable around your partner, exactly what is it that is causing the discomfort, and really facing that, because clearly it's there because you feel it.
Right.
And sometimes we don't want to vocalize it because vocalizing it makes it real.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Air quotes. But But what's funny is that it's already real because you're experiencing the effects of it in your body and then
Right.
it's playing out in your relationship. So if you vocalize it, what it does is it calls the issue forward so that you can work on it. And let me tell you something about men. We're speaking about like heteronormative
Yeah.
uh, coupling or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Men are a lot more simple than what we think they are. And when I say simple, I mean like they literally cannot read our minds. They don't know what we're thinking. And some of us are very aloof and very mysterious,
Yeah.
or we're just like thinkers. So we're
Yeah.
very cerebral. We're all up here. Because I'll tell you, I'm that way.
Yeah.
And I've had partners say, "You too cool for school." And I'm like, what do you mean? What do what do you want me to do? You want me to be all rah rah? No, I'm not
Right.
gonna do that.
Right.
And I will admit, I say I'm not rah rah all the time and being super expressive about certain things because one, I need mutuality, and number two, I have trauma around this from my past.
Wow.
So I'm not one that's easily just gonna jump and be like, I love you with my whole heart, because when I
Yeah.
did that in the past, it was like too much for them. So I let it be known, like what the grievances are, and then once you put that stuff into space, because typically it's going to be like some emotional stuff that's causing like the disconnect. Then it's like talking about the physical stuff,
Right.
like is there an issue with stroke? Is there an issue with when you have sex? You know,
Right.
do you want to be the initiator or do you want them to be the initiator? Do you have times where your libidos are mismatched? Like they want to get it in at night, but you want to get it in the morning.
Right.
Your working schedules, what is that like?
Right.
Because you got physiological, sociological, and psychological factors that all impact how you're able to connect sexually.
Right.
So all these things matter.
Mm.
And then being unafraid to say, "Hey babe, you know what? When you stroke like this, it doesn't really do it for me. Can we slow it down?" And it's the thing, right? Don't just chastise.
Yeah.
Say what is uncomfortable for you and add a suggestion on how it can improve. And let me tell you something, that part right there is what trips a lot of people up, a lot of women, because it's like, what you don't like, which should then, you would think that they would know what they like if they know what they
Right.
don't like.
Right.
The issue is that they don't have the bandwidth or the verbiage to be able to express what it is.
Right.
That's where sex education comes in, because it's like if you're going to give a suggestion, know exactly what you're talking about, and then know how to show, like at least go to a source where you can show them what you're talking about. Um, because like again, men are not mind readers, and it doesn't compute for them. Like, and they're very habitual, where
Right.
like if they know something has worked, they're going to stick with that thing until they are requested to change it. And there's also this whole thing around protecting men's egos,
Yeah.
like not wanting to tell them what they are doing that doesn't feel comfortable
Right.
because it's going to shatter them. Listen, that man will be okay. There
Willie.
is a way
Willie.
that man, that listen, I'm gonna tell you something. A man that really loves you and wants to please you and wants to satisfy you, he wants you to tell him how to do that. Because a lot of women are like, he's supposed to know. I shouldn't have to tell him anything.
Right.
I'm gonna tell you the only time that actually works is when you have developed a relationship with a person over time, where they've learned your body, you've given them feedback, you've had trial and error, there's been positive reinforcement, then there's also been a calling forward of behaviors that don't work, and then switching up to something different and giving them that feedback and those affirmations. That takes time, and it takes effort.
Yeah.
Because if you're not actually in the bedroom having sex and trying out things and really treating your bedroom like a dojo,
Right.
then
A
that man will
dojo.
never be able to read your body and know what you like, because you haven't had the practice.
Wow.
You haven't had the practice. So you like literally, a man is going to treat you like the last woman that he was with, because again, they're habitual. So if that stroke worked, And if that movement works, and if that flick works for her, then he's going to use the same thing. And no one woman is the same.
No.
There is no cookie cutter way of doing stuff.
Right.
And I be telling women, you want to know what true sexual empowerment is having the knowledge and the education to know exactly how to exercise your pleasure. Don't put it in the hands of that man. I promise you, every time you're going to fail.
Wow.
That's why 80% of y'all not having orgasms, because you put in the responsibility in the man's hands and you're not doing your part.
Wow.
Like, I'm gonna call y'all forward, ladies. Y'all gotta step in and start doing the work, because y'all missing out on some really deep pleasure. Like, I be seeing God. Like, y'all,
what,
y'all
girl? So you think everybody can have orgasms or multiple orgasms?
So people with vaginas, you know, we are naturally mostly orgasmic, and we can have over 15 different types of orgasms. People with penises, they can have over 11 different types of orgasms. There is immense pleasure that all bodies can experience. And this is the thing, right? We are very much so focused on the ending or the orgasm, right? And not realizing that there is a lot of pleasure you can experience leading up to it. But the thing about an orgasm for people with vaginas specifically is that it's not the end. It's not the end. It's one of many, because the typical male orgasm is an ejaculatory orgasm, right? So they ejaculate and orgasm at the same time. And then penis goes down. They go into their refractory period, so the body can start gearing up to produce more semen, right? And then they can get back up, some of them. You know what I mean?
Right.
But there is no refractory period for women, because our orgasms are not attached to procreation at all.
Right.
And they facilitate in the process of procreation, sure. But we can literally orgasm and have another one, and another one, and another one, and another one. And those who masturbate, you know, clitorally, they know this because they just be going to town. You know what I mean?
Wow.
But the clitoral orgasm, like the orgasm from external stimulation of the clitoris, is like a sneeze in comparison to the power of the other orgasms that we can have. But the way that we access that again is like tapping into our bodies, seeping into our bodies, becoming one. The mind-body connection has to be there. But, you know, like, we all have the ability. We do. Even like, this isn't really a big thing in America, but over in like Africa, female genital mutilation is a thing.
Yeah.
And so they will destroy the external clitoris, but there is still the internal clitoris, which, you know, is still there.
Yeah.
There's still
Yeah.
nerve endings there.
Yeah.
And then all the erogenous zones in the vagina. So even with those bodies, like, pleasure can still be experienced. There is still some physical trauma that has to be overcome. But all of this takes work. And I'm just like, if y'all are just willing to breathe and use your imagination, then the pathway to deepening your pleasure and experiencing those multitude of orgasms is open for you. But if you think that you got a broken pussy or like you're a broken person, please understand that you are not. You just not you have not tapped into your potential yet. I promise you, you have not. And it's some women that are like 60 years old have never tapped into that orgasmic potential.
I believe that.
I would hate for anybody to go to their grave without experiencing a vaginal orgasm.
Right.
Sorry.
Oh my God. Okay, I want to get into some of these questions that people have written in to ask. I'm gonna try to, because I know you got
questions.
you know you got things to do. So I'm gonna go through some of these. So, intimacy coach, what can a couple expect if they hire an intimacy coach? Yourself. So,
what couples can expect if they hire me is, first, for me to interview them together and to interview them separately. Because what I have learned is that when couples are together, there's things that they can't say about the other one in front of them. So I'll do separate things. And plus, they each individually have their own sexual histories, their own path,
Mm-hmm.
and their own like traumas that are impacting how they're behaving now.
Right.
So I have to dig into that.
Mm.
What they can also expect is a lot of think work and a lot of talk based coaching,
Okay.
where we're going to be talking through a lot of stuff. Because if you think of it like an onion,
Mm-hmm.
right? The first layer is like, okay, we start peeling back the layers. Not only does the onion get more potent, but you get into more of the flavor.
Right.
Well, people want to get to the core of the onion because they're like, I want to get to the spicy
Right.
stuff, right?
Right.
But you can't get to the spicy stuff without peeling off the first layers.
Right.
And there's so much, like when a couple comes to me for coaching, they are in crisis mode.
Right.
So typically, I have to get them out of crisis mode into being stable.
Mm.
And then once
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
they're stable, then we can start exploring the sexual stuff.
Right.
But it's getting down to the meat of what are the issues between them intimately
Right.
and helping them get back online with their intimacy before we even talk about anything sexual or even penetrative as far as sex is concerned.
Right.
So we start there and then we go up, and they can also expect to be in multiple sessions. So
Right.
typically when I work one-to-one with couples, I like to put them in a longer term program, especially if they tell me that their condition has been chronic.
Mm. Wow.
If you say that you have been dealing with this issue for more than like 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
even if you've been dealing with it for 2 years, I'm just
Right.
like, we need at least 6 months of coaching.
Mm-mm-mm.
Minimum 6 months of coaching, because this is not going to turn itself over overnight. And then, like
Right.
I said, when I told you earlier about like when you start impacting the nervous system to like open stuff up and repair like the breaks and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
there's resistance. So you can expect resistance to doing the work.
Right. And your
Oh, well, I'm
body.
tired.
Ugh. Yeah.
Yeah, the body will have visceral
Mm.
responses to some of the stuff that I will teach, because it's like, what are we doing?
Right.
We are not used to
Not
this.
used to it.
No.
Mm-mm. Wow.
Yep. And so that, and then you can also expect to make an investment, not just
Mm-hmm.
of your time and your energy, but of your money as
Right.
well, because this shit ain't free.
Right.
We ain't working for free. Oh, my kids
Exactly.
this shit ain't free.
Right.
This ain't free.
Exactly. I could imagine like couples feeling embarrassed. You know what I'm saying? To like have these conversations, one like with each other, and that's kind of sad. You know what I'm saying? One thing I heard you say as well on one of your lives is that, and this made so much damn sense to me, and I don't know why I never thought about this. Like, you said the same way that we have to hire like personal trainers for, our muscles. You have to, it's the same kind of practice with an intimacy coach. And that makes damn sense because it's a muscle, and it's probably a muscle that a lot of muscles we never used before. You know what I'm saying? So that analogy made so much sense to me. And I'm like, why are there not more of like intimacy coaches, and why is this not more of a norm? Because I feel like most people, and I hate to say this, but I feel like especially people who've been together for a long time,
Yep.
if I had to guess, they probably not enjoying sex. They probably having like, repetitive sex if they're having sex, and they're probably not having enjoyable sex. You know what I'm saying? And to me, sex seems like something that should be so fun. And when I hear you talk and I hear the words that you are using to describe it, I ain't never heard sex described like it just sounds like relaxing and peaceful. And I mean, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, I want that. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the hell? Like, I'm gonna be honest. I was telling my friend today, me personally, like sex for me has just always been an act that I did for the partner. I've never really truly had sex for my pleasure and for my enjoyment. You know what I'm saying? So hearing you talk about it made me feel like, wow, what am I doing? What have I been doing? Because I feel like, how we like, especially Black people, and Black women specifically, and I said this before, but we're kind of prudish, and I don't think we're open sexually. Like even like certain words, I don't even like I can't even say it. Like pussy, I hate saying that word. Like it sounds so scary for me to say that word. You know what I'm saying? And it's like I know inside. Yes. I know inside that I'm a very sexual person. You know what I'm saying? I, can think of experiences that I've had to where I was sexually free. I mean, it was not a lot. You know what I'm saying? And that makes me feel kind of sad for myself. And I know that I'm not alone. I know that I'm not alone in this. I'm probably in the majority. You know what I'm saying?
It's so crazy because like in my travels and stuff, when people talk to me about what I do and I tell them, they're like, that's a thing. And so it makes me feel a little sad, but it excites me because I'm like, ooh, there's a big world out there. There's more for me to conquer. And like, there's more impact for me to have. And like recently, I've been sitting with myself as a coach and I'm like, what are my strengths and what is my sauce?
Right.
And that's it. It's teaching people how to tap into their bodies.
Right.
And what is normal for me, I know is not normal for the majority of the world.
Right.
So to me, I'm like, really? That's going to be enough to teach? And I'm like, actually, that is the most.
That's everything.
That's the most.
That's everything.
So I think like the reason why we don't see more intimacy coaches is because I think number one, people don't know that it's an actual job to have. And number two, there are so many people who they're not tapped in and doing the work on themselves in a way that will help them to show up as coaches who can be impactful on that level.
Right.
So it does take a lot of inner work to not only be in this space, but to sustain. And then you have to think about the business aspect of things, because in running a business, there's a whole nother set of tools and things that you have to think about. And then the marketing piece and the social media. And then how do you gain followers? How do you get clients, maintain those clients? How do you impact it? There's a lot of moving parts to it. And so I think some people are just like, they just don't want to go there. But there's a good handful of us and there's people all over the world that do this work in some capacity. Unfortunately, when you start to go into the world view lens, you see less melanated people doing it.
Not surprised.
And that's one of the issues. And I completely empathize with you on like, certain words feeling dirty or they like just don't feel right coming off of your lips. Cause I used to feel that way about pussy too.
Ugh.
And then one day I just sat in the mirror and I was just like, this is just a fucking word.
Pussy.
And I just started saying it over and over in different inflections. Pussy, 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 pussy. I just started like literally doing that, just sitting with myself because I was like, it's literally just a word. We attach the meaning to it. You know what I mean? And then you got to think about it. Really, it's not even necessarily about like, it's really about how other people would perceive you saying that word or the judgments that you've perceived from other people when that word has been spoken or said. And typically with Black women, we got the good girl syndrome going on from having, being raised either in the church or adjacent to the church. And what I mean by adjacent is having grandmamas and mamas that grew up in the church. And even if they weren't taking you to church, they still brought you up like that. And then there's a whole, of course, history around like chastity and like purity, trauma from chattel slavery, all the stuff that was put onto us by massa, you know what I mean, that got passed down as tradition in the Black community. We've adopted this as a part of our culture, because what's the first thing people say when you are a sexually free Black person? That's that white people shit.
And you are
I've literally had people tell me, specifically Black men, like, oh, you ain't gonna marry no Black man with that mentality. Ain't no Black man gonna ever let you do XYZ. Ain't no Black man. I've literally been told this. Like, y'all crazy.
Speaking of Black men, What are your views on polygamy? Like, what exactly is that? I had a friend today tell me that they were poly, and I thought, oh, wow. So you have several different, partners, and this person was like, no, this just means that my relationship, we're able to see other people outside of the relationship. And so I'm like, well, maybe I don't really know what this is. So like, what exactly is like a polyamorous lifestyle, and what are your thoughts on that?
So I want to make a distinction
Okay.
because people get this conflated all the time. Polygamy and polyamory are two different
Okay.
things, and they are both under the open lifestyle umbrella,
Okay.
right? Or what people would call ethical non-monogamy or consensual non-monogamy. It's all kind of terms for that.
Okay.
But polygamy is being married to multiple people.
Okay.
And under polygamy, there's, a man with multiple wives, a woman with multiple husbands.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to get into all the
Yeah.
terms because it can be kind of confusing for
Yeah.
people, but just know that polygamy is an umbrella term for marriage to multiple people.
Okay.
Polyamory
Mm-hmm.
is an umbrella term for being in emotionally bonded or polysexual sexual relationships, but
Yeah.
polyamory specifically, mostly being in multiple emotionally bonded relationships with people, and it may or may not include sex.
Mm.
And I am a polyamorous person.
Okay.
I've been a polyamorous person for the majority of my adult life, and I've been a solo polyamorous person, meaning that I am my primary partner. So I prioritize myself. I live alone, so I don't live with any of my partners. And I'm at the center of all my relationships. So if you think of like an atom,
Mm-hmm.
I'm the nucleus.
Mm-hmm.
And then around me are all the neutrons, electrons, protons, nerd stuff.
Right.
For any of y'all into that,
Yeah.
I am. But I'm the center of my love life.
Mm-hmm.
And the people around me, they all share love for me. They all share time with me. And I invest time in all of these relationships. Now, the time that I spend with each person it might not be as copious as others,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of my relationships I've been maintaining them for like 10 years or more. So
Are they aware of each other?
not always, nah.
Oh, Lord.
And that's the thing about being solo poly.
Right.
And being solo poly, my partners don't interact with each other.
Oh.
Have my partners at a point in time met each other? Sure. But they are not in relationship with each other. They are all in relationship with me.
Wow.
So clearly, I advocate for open lifestyles.
Mm-hmm.
Because for those of us that have the capacity to love many,
Mm-hmm.
and for those of us that have the capacity to fuck many,
Right.
we can do it consensually,
Okay.
and in full awareness of each other, through open relating and open living.
Okay.
And earlier this year,
Mm-hmm.
I created a chart because I needed it for myself first. I was like, I never really wrote down what all of my relationships and connections are. And so I made a little chart, a little bubble chart
Okay.
with me in the center. And I had branches and circles with
Wow.
like different categories, and then people off of those bubbles. And it had to be like 24 people on this chart. So I put it up. I was like, this is what solo poly looks like. And it went viral and
Wow.
has been going viral since. And I put that up on January 4th.
Oh my God.
And so many people were very upset about it.
Right.
And I was like, well, it's not my fault that you can't get a phone call back. And I have
A whole
all
tree.
these people in my life who love me. Right. I have a
Right.
full tree with
Yeah.
multiple branches of people who love me. And I leave open space and open doors for people to come, to come and go. But I maintain the relationships. Like when they're present with me, I'm present with them.
Right.
So I know that it's not really a lifestyle for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
At large, I think the majority of people profess to be monogamous, but I'm gonna tell you something. all this talk of side chicks, side dudes, side pieces,
Mm-hmm.
that is non-monogamy, but it's unethical.
Right.
Or excuse me, it's not consensual.
Right. Right.
It's not consensual.
Right.
So people are doing it. They're just not doing it with conscious, like they're not doing it consciously,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not doing it consensually. And then what ends up happening is they hurt their partners or they hurt
Wow.
themselves.
Mm-mm-mm.
So there's a lot of cheating happening.
Right.
And we see, but what's crazy is that society actually upholds that, but wants to condemn open living, right?
Right.
Because we hear it in songs, we see the narratives played out in novels, we see the narratives played out in movies, and these are some of the stories and the movies and songs that are like chart topping,
Right.
they're box office,
Right.
big time sellers or
Right.
whatever, because it's the allure. It's like, ooh, I could
Mm.
potentially like step out and do something with somebody else, but
Right.
I'm never gonna do it because it's just a fantasy type vibe,
Right.
right?
Wow.
But this is a thing that is already happening. And I'm like, now imagine if people just said, hey,
Right.
I love you and I love them too. And I want to love both of y'all.
Right.
And the thing about it, I think, is that people assume that polyamory has to look a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
That if your partner loves somebody else, you also have to be in relationship with them, and that's not actually the case, because
Right.
their partners are not your partners
Right.
unless you decide to be in a three-way
Monogamy.
relationship or a
Yeah.
four-way relationship, but their partners are not your partners, and it requires a lot of emotional
Mm.
intelligence, very deep communication,
Right.
and a level of compersion. And compersion means having a genuine love for and acceptance of your partner, and a joy for your partner
Mm-hmm.
loving other people and
Wow.
being loved by other people.
Mm.
So jealousy and envy and all that kind of stuff comes up, and people don't know how to navigate those emotions.
Wow.
And so for a lot of people, doing this consciously doesn't work for them. But if they keep it in secret,
Mm-hmm.
they can pretend and they can play the game. And they can go be this person with this person over here
Right.
and come back home to their wife or come back home to their husband and play the game and do all the secret texting
Right.
and why looking at my phone
Put the
type
phone
vibe,
down.
and right, gaslighting and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff to make
Mm-hmm.
your partner feel like they're crazy.
Mm.
So
Mm-mm-mm.
that thing is happening a lot.
Right.
But people like myself who are like, I'm polyamorous, I'm open, and you're sharing me, I'm getting the sticks and stones thrown at me.
Wow.
Oh,
Open and
okay.
sharing me. Open. Let me process that. I'm polyamorous. I'm open and you're sharing me. Okay. So, and is that
Mhm.
with men and women?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Nice. Okay.
Yep. I'm a polyamorous pansexual.
Okay. Polyamorous pansexual. That kind of
And I
sound.
also started using the term too, polysexual, because I'm polyamorous, but I also enjoy having sex with multiple people.
Okay.
But
At the same time, you mean, or
like,
like?
I mean, I do like group sex,
Okay.
but
Okay.
but
Yeah.
I do have multiple partners that I will see at a time, but I also practice periods of abstinence. Like, I'm
Okay.
in a period of abstinence right now. So I have those periods, and then I'm
Right.
like, all right, because those are my times to like reevaluate, like,
Right.
where am I at with this person? Do I continue? Do I want to continue to have something with this person?
Right.
There's so many like variations, because a person can be like polyromantic, but they
Mm-hmm.
can be monosexual, where they want
Wow.
to be romantic with and emotionally bonded to multiple people, but they only want to have sex with one person.
Mm.
There's so many different variations of how relationships can be played out, but people keep their minds focused traditionally on like monogamy. You only got one soulmate. It's
Mm-hmm.
love is only meant for one and one,
Right.
not many, right?
Mm.
And if you are a Bible thumper, it's like, well, that's mighty odd,
Right.
because like if you look at the Old Testament,
Right.
and all the men, they had all these wives and
Right.
concubines. But see, again, the Bible is very patriarchal.
Right.
I'm not gonna go down that spiral of conversation. I'm
Right.
gonna leave it right there.
Right.
But you know what I mean? When a
Mhm.
woman is doing it and a woman is doing it consciously, and I'm being honest
Mhm.
with everybody in my life
Right.
about how I feel and where they stand in my life and them sharing me, they want to get upset
Wow.
because they're doing it, but they're doing it unconsciously and non-consensually. And I'm like, okay,
Mm.
I mean, if that's working for you,
Right. Right. Do you think that you could
like,
ever get to a space like in your current tree where like is it someone or some two people that you might feel like you have stronger feelings to and that you could possibly see being with just them? Or is that something that's just not in your desire?
no.
Got it.
So there are people within my tree who I absolutely love and adore, and our
Mhm.
connection is so deep and it's so strong, and it's never going to go anywhere. But I'm always going to want to share my love, and it's the thing,
Mm.
right? I would say that most men in my life, well, not most, but there are some men in my life who really have an issue with me having sex with other men, right?
Mm.
But the emotional bonded piece, they don't really care that much about because they can't really conceptualize
Right.
what that means. But the thing that I love about all the men in my life,
Right.
because women, I don't talk about the women in this because it's a whole different vibe with women.
Okay.
But with the men in my life, they love me enough to just say, I'm gonna let her do her. And I'm going to be with her and experience her when I have her. And I'm gonna live that out fully because one thing that none of these people can say is that they don't feel the love when they with me
Wow.
and that they don't feel like they are the center of my attention when they're with me.
Wow.
Don't think about those other relationships that I have. Don't think about that.
Right. Right.
When it's your time with me, be with me, feel that, live that out fully.
That's wow.
And then if you want more time with me, request that time and I will give you that time. So,
Wow.
you know, like I've been in monogamous relationships before. And it was cool, you know, I can do
It
it.
was cool. Yeah.
But as as I've opened up and I live my life this way, the freedom that I experience and the variety of life experiences that I have
Mm-hmm.
based on being able to be with this one and that one because they all have different backgrounds and they
Right.
all do amazing things in this world. The fact that I have access to so many different experiences in
Wow.
life through being in a relationship with these people
Mm-hmm.
is magical to me and it's like a big adventure.
Wow. Mm.
And to say, well, I'm just going to bottle that up and just be with one person.
Wow.
No, like now, would I eventually want a home base or like a primary partner?
Right.
I think I want that, but
Right.
there's a lot of days when I be like, I'm cool where I'm at. And
Right.
so I will say this, the thing about being poly for
Mm-hmm.
me that I think is the most beautiful
Mm-hmm.
is that I get to examine this stuff consistently. I'm
Mm.
not just stuck in this box of saying I can only be with one person.
Right.
I can only talk to one person at a time. It's like I could literally tomorrow be like, all right, I just want to be with one person and go be with that person.
Right.
And then I could be like, all right, I want to open again.
Right.
Like it's all very
You have
fluid.
options.
And so
Yeah.
I lean into the fluidity of everything.
Right.
Um,
Wow.
but it's beautiful when people show up for me and love me exactly as I am, and they're not trying to change me or expecting me to be any different.
Right.
And when people do come along and do that, we call them cowboys or cowgirls, where they try to like, you know, reel you in and pull you away from the lifestyle. I have people like that who try to do that. And I'm
Wow.
like, why are you doing that?
Right.
Especially when you've known me for like a decade and you still thinking that one day I'm just gonna change my mind. It's not happening. And I keep
Wow.
telling you that just love me right here.
Mm.
Just love me. Just love me right here. Like I don't know what more you want.
Wow. They want you by yourself is what they want.
They
That is
got me. They got me, but
wow.
they want me within the perception that they are used to because
Mm.
they're monogamous programmed.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, you think you want me in that capacity, and I'm telling you right now, you don't.
Wow.
You really don't,
Right.
because you're gonna feel a little overwhelmed. Y'all, you think you want that. You're gonna be like trying to go in a closet and get some alone time because you're like, damn, okay. She wants too much. Like I had one partner say, man, you be making me work. I was like, what the fuck do you mean? No, yeah, I'm making you work. You thought that this shit ain't free. You think you just gonna come over here and just lamp?
Wow.
Like you have to put in work to show me what it is.
That's scary with Melanie. Come on, here we go.